What's up, everyone? Crypto 38 here. So today I want to look at something that I seen on Mike Maloney's YouTube video, where he spoke about the digital dollar that's coming here to the United States. It's already been in works, and of course, if you've been paying any attention, China already started. They actually sent out digital money to citizens in China to start the ball rolling when it comes to this new digital age that we're in, which was all started because of Bitcoin, right? Whoever created Bitcoin, this was the goal. And the cryptocurrency community for about now 10 years has been saying that eventually, because of the decentralized nature of Bitcoin, and because in order to stop Bitcoin, you would have to completely shut down the internet worldwide, that Bitcoin was going to force every government on earth to come up with their own version of Bitcoin. So before we begin, of course, if you're interested in purchasing Bitcoin, you can check out my website, What To Now. It's www.crypto38.com. You can purchase Bitcoin there. You can also invest your Bitcoin with Nexo and earn interest on your Bitcoin. And you can also purchase a hardware wallet if you want to have your own private keys. I would suggest you do that. Anytime you have your Bitcoin sitting in some other person's exchange, you're basically giving up your private keys to that person. So if you want to keep your Bitcoin secure, my advice to you is to purchase a hardware wallet, which you can see the referral link I have on my website, and your Bitcoin will be safe and secure. Now, let's move over here. So, as much news as I follow, I didn't even see this here. But this is basically the Fed coin. Let's name it the Fed coin. We don't know what it's going to be. We don't know if it's going to be called the Fed coin. We don't know if they're going to use the USDC, the stable coin that's floating around at this point. We don't know what they're going to call it. But we do know that a digitized version of a government Bitcoin has been in the works for the longest, right? And here on congress.gov website, you're going to see, if you click down here where it says illicit cash, and just scroll down a little bit, it's going to tell you exactly what it's been in the making so far, right? And it says this bill expands disclosure requirements. That means they want more information, right, regarding the ownership of corporations, and sets forth additional requirements regarding anti-money laundering and combating the financing of terrorist programs. So now I think this is probably a good thing, right? Because corporations, if you know anything about corporations, they seem to be like the bad guys when you look at what they've done throughout the world. Yes, they've made a lot of progress, but it seems like corporations have gotten to the point where they're so greedy, they do not care about the environment. All they worry about is the big profits they can make. And as the story goes, these corporations have made so much money that they actually are the ones who then donate that money to the politicians and have the politicians write the laws that they need in order to continue this profit-making system that they're on, right? So I think ownership is good. Is it really going to work? I really doubt it, because like I said, to me the corporations just run everything right now, and so I don't think that. Now this one, combating terrorism, of course everybody's going to say that's a good thing, right? The problem that I have, this is just my assessment of the whole thing, is that governments, doesn't matter whether it's the US, Russia, China, governments tend to use this phrase, we're fighting terrorism in order to get laws passed, because nobody's going to say no to fighting terrorism, right? But if you remember, take it back a little bit, when we had the 9/11 attacks here, then all of a sudden America was like, we're going to fight terrorism all around the world. And then they wanted to go inside Iraq. They said they had weapons of mass destruction. Boom, they went inside and took over the country basically. Okay, now if you fast forward, we all know that there was never no weapons of mass destruction there. And they just wanted to go in there and get the oil. Seems like anywhere there's oil, the U.S. is there, right? It's just somehow some coincidence, right? Now, the bill also generally expands and revises existing AML-CFT provisions, right? And what do they want to do? Compelling foreign banks to comply with subpoenas for records and allowing fines for foreign banks that fail to comply. Now, I want to emphasize that again, right? Because I get a lot of riff from people who are always saying, oh, China this and China that and Russia this and Russia that, right? Well, look what the U.S. is doing. The U.S. wants to compel foreign banks, right? That means they're in another country. They're not in the U.S., but they want to force foreign banks to comply with subpoenas, right? So some people say, oh, yeah, all the information on TikTok is being sent to the Chinese government, right? Well, the U.S. does the same thing. All they have to do is get a subpoena, and boom, now you got to give up all your records. And if you don't give up all your records, then they'll just arrest you, right? Plain and simple. And then they're going to fine foreign banks. So again, those economic sanctions that they continuously put on other countries is what forces these countries to have to bend down and bow to the U.S., right? Next one, establishing a financial institution liaison at FinCEN, initiating a review of thresholds for currency transactions, reports, and suspicious activities report. That's like if you move more than $2,000, boom. Now whoever's holding your money has to send a report to your federal government letting them know this guy just moved $2,000, right? Which is basically what the U.S. told Coinbase, which was anybody that moves over $2,000 in cryptocurrency, send a report to us. And of course, Coinbase gets a lot of riff right, but I'm pretty sure Coinbase does not want to go to jail, okay? Just like I don't want to go to jail. Nobody wants to go to jail. But that's what's happening. So everybody's being compelled to follow these rules, or you go to jail. If you don't, and if you don't go to jail, then you're going to get killed, right? And then look at the last one, expanding the regulation of digital currencies, right? So of course, there's always regulation coming in, and I feel like regulations tend to stifle innovation, right? And it also has a double-edged sword, because by you expanding regulations for cryptocurrencies, you're making it harder for people to actually take off with their projects that they want, right? Because now you have all these regulations that you have to follow. You have to file applications. You have to file for licenses. Along with these applications and licenses are all these fees that come along with this, right? And so some people don't have that. Like if I want to go get a TOC license so I could be a taxi driver in New York City, right? I have to file all these applications, get the license, and it's like $500 for just the license alone. And it's like, let's say I don't have a job, right? I don't have any money. So I have to pay $500 to get that license. I don't have it. So that means I'm not going to be a taxi driver, right? Because of the rules and regulations and all the fees they have. Now, the bill also requires increased communication and data sharing, right? For all those people, oh, China this and Russia that, right? The bill also requires increased communication and data sharing between law enforcement, financial regulators, and financial institutions. So they want to make it so that they have access to all your records. They want to see everything you're spending your money on, right? So for example, the battle now that they have with the WhatsApp and the Facebook messengers and the Telegram X, all these encrypted messaging apps, they want to pass a law that gives the US a back door to be able to get inside these apps if they choose that they need to get in there, and they'll be able to read all your messages, right? That's a bill that's being introduced into the Congress. Nobody seems to pay or care about it, but it's going to happen, right? The bill provides statutory authority for the Securities and Exchange if they believe that somehow whatever you did fell under the securities law, which according to the US, everything falls under securities law, right? The bill also revises administrative requirements for FinCEN. But the most important thing here is compelling people from around the world. I don't know who made the United States God, but they want to compel everybody around the earth to follow our regulations and rules. And if we don't follow our regulations and rules, of course, you're going to get fined. And if you continue to do what you do, they're going to do this to you. They're going to shut you off the system. And you ain't going to have access to anything. And this is the reason why people, for example, the Chinese, have come up with their own version of that digital coin, because they don't want to use the US financial system anymore. It's the reason why Venezuela came out with their own digital currency, because they don't want to use the US financial system anymore, because the US is using the financial system to get their way, right? And if you study US history, right, every time they seem to go into somebody's country, later on it is revealed that they actually had no valid reason to be in that country in the first place. But we found oil, we found gold, we found something that was of benefit to us here in America, so we needed to get in there. We want everybody to use our currency, and if you don't use our currency, then again, you have to be taken out the system, right? So let's go to the next section. Now, if I go here to the one underneath it, the Banking Act, right? These are bills that they passed through Congress and nobody knows about it, right? Like supposedly it's a democracy and we should be able to all have our voices heard in this matter, but no, they just push bills right through. They boom. I didn't. Oh well, you know, you elected me to represent you, and I think this is what should happen, right? No, I don't think it should work that way. But anyway. So I clicked on that, and look what it says down here. The Banking for All Act. It's kind of funny because it sounds like Bitcoin's model, right? Banking for everybody. All of a sudden is Banking for All Act. You know, everybody wants to be like Bitcoin now. So it says this bill requires Federal Reserve member banks to provide digital pass-through accounts, i.e. digital wallets. Right, just like I have on my phone, my Coinbase wallet, just like I have my Binance Trust wallet, just like I have on my laptop, my MetaMask wallet, where I keep my money safe and secure. They want their own wallet, where you're going to be forced to put all your money in this wallet if you want to be able to be part of the system. Otherwise, you're going to be kicked out the system, right? So the wallets to residents and citizens and businesses in the United States. Among other things, these accounts must provide specified banking services to eligible persons. Eligible persons, I'm not sure who or what they mean by that. I'm guessing is that you have to go there, provide some type of documentation of who you are. So you got to give your ID, your passport, whatever. Just like if you go to a bank and open up a bank account. Persons who would like to deposit funds into these accounts. So it sounds like they're making the option of me deciding whether I want to partake in this or not. However, here it says including access to COVID-19 aid payment. So if they pass this stimulus bill, right, which I think they have to because they have no other choice, because if we don't have any money to go to the restaurants and to spend money, then the corporations ain't going to make no money because we're not buying anything that they're selling, right? So I think they're going to be forced, not that they want to, but they're going to be forced to print some more money. And everybody's going to hop in because they're going to have to get access to this corona relief. So they ain't going to have no choice. They're going to have to download the wallet. They're going to have to create an account in order to access their COVID-19 relief money, right? So it's kind of like Maloney said, it's kind of like a hook with a little worm where they're throwing it out there for you, and you're going to have really no other choice but to use it, even though maybe after you spend your money, you're probably going to be like, okay, I don't need it no more, but what if they keep sending you payments after that, like they kept selling everybody $600 a week? Then you're going to have to continue to use this, right? And that's, to me, the whole purpose is to get everybody slowly into using their digital version of Bitcoin, which is not Bitcoin because there's only one Bitcoin, right? These accounts may not charge fees, oh, that's a good thing, or have balance requirements, which means you could just put $10 in there, you could just have $20 in there, or you could have $1 million. It's up to you. No balance requirements, and must provide a specified interest rate. Now that's the interesting one, right? Because they're going to put an interest rate, from what I'm understanding. That means that we're going to have to pay them for having this money here. I know that in cryptocurrency, I can have a wallet where I have my crypto in there, and the interest is built up in there, whether it's through a pool or something, comes back to me, not to the government. So if anything, I would think, if you just do the logical math, I would rather have a wallet where I get the interest on my money instead of the government getting the interest on their money. After all, they have a printing machine, or should I say a computer, where they could just type in money and poof, they have money. So I don't know why they insist on having my money. In areas with limited access to Federal Reserve member bank, these banks must partner with postal retail facilities to provide services. So if you live in the countryside and you don't really have a TD bank, you don't really have a Chase, a Citigroup right around the corner, or you know, a bus trip down, then what they're going to do is they're going to have your local post office provide these digital wallets for you. You just go to the post office, you say, yeah, I want to open up a digital wallet so I can access my COVID-19 relief money, and they're going to, you know, provide that service for you. Open up your wallet, and boom, that's it. Now you're a part of the new digitized FedCoin, right? Federal banks must permit state non-member banks and credit unions to open master accounts for the purpose of offering digital pass-through accounts. So basically, state banks, you know, they're themselves, like if I go to my TD bank, then I can just tell my TD bank, yeah, I want to open up a digital wallet, and then my state bank is going to be able to do that for me. Postal retail facilities and certain small banks must be reimbursed by the appropriate federal bank for operational costs incurred by offering the accounts. So there you always get all the money. But this is the Fed coin, let's just call it the Fed coin, that's been in the making. And the crypto community has been saying this for some time now, that eventually all governments around the world would have to resort to this. And of course, the US did not want to have a digital currency because they have the paper money floating around the entire earth, which is the world reserve currency. And that's what has sustained the US from falling, right? It's that global currency reserve that they have as a status. But that is slowly starting to come down because, like I said, China's digital yuan, they don't want to use the US dollar anymore because they feel like it's being used in wrongful ways, right? Now, I want to show you what's going to happen when we go into all digital, right? This is from the IMF, right? And listen to what they say here. If you haven't heard about negative interest rates, well, you're hearing it now, right? So the whole point of negative interest rates is when you have negative interest rates, you basically start acquiring like a tax on the money you have saved in your bank account, right? You start losing money for keeping your money with the bank instead of actually earning, you know, like in a savings account, actually earning some interest on it, right? You're actually going to lose money for holding it in there. So when these governments, because of the debt that they have fallen into and all the money printing that's going on, right, and these complete collapses that keep happening in capitalism, right, because they had no choice but to go into negative interest rates, which according to a lot of well-known economists say they never heard or even thought that it was even possible to have negative interest rates, but here we are. Somebody made it up, and if you got the power, you could do that, right? But when you go into negative interest rates, the thing is that when people notice that they're losing money for having their money in the bank, what they do is they take it out. Because why would I keep my money with you if I know the next time I go visit my bank account online, it's going to be less money in there? I don't want to do that. So what I'm going to do, I'm going to take the money out of the bank and I'm going to keep it in my sneaker box inside my closet, right? And they know that. They know that people are going to do that. Well, smart people are going to do that, right? And they need a way to find out to stop that, right? Because they need you to spend the money. They don't want you to save the money, which, you know, I thought was a good thing, but I guess not. So they need to cut cash out. And this accelerates also the point of having a Fed coin, a Euro coin, a Chinese yuan, right? It says, in a cashless world, with no cash, which some countries are like that already, there would be no lower bound on interest rates, right? A central bank could reduce the policy rate from, say, 2% to -4% to counter a severe recession. The interest rate cut would transmit to bank deposits. So we're always getting, you know, they say shit rolls downhill. That's what happens. Like, they don't want to pay for anything, so they just make us pay for it down there at the lower bottom. So this would transmit to bank deposits, loans, and bonds. But without cash, depositors would have to pay the demand, right? Would have to pay the negative interest rate to keep their money with the bank, making consumption and investment more attractive. They want you to spend more, because if you're not spending money, they don't make money. And the way this works is it's a cycle, and that's where Mike Maloney speaks about the velocity of money. They need you to continuously buy stuff in order to keep the economy rolling. They don't want you to spend money. They need you to keep spending that money. That's why you're always being, since the childhood, you're always being bombarded with advertising and then marketing, because they need you to keep spending and spending and spending. And that's why today Americans just go crazy when it comes to just spending, spending, spending. And people don't really seem to understand what's going on here. But anyway, this would jolt lending, boost demand, and stimulate the economy. When cash is available, however, cutting rates significantly into negative territory becomes impossible. Cash has the same purchasing power as bank deposits, but at a zero nominal interest. Moreover, it can be obtained in unlimited quantities in exchange for bank money. Therefore, instead of paying negative interest, one can simply hold cash at zero interest. What is what I just said, right? Once I find out that by me keeping my money in the bank, I'm going to lose money, I'm going to take it out, right? I'm going to take it out and just keep it in my house. Cash is a free option on zero interest and acts as an interest rate floor. So they need to get rid of cash, because if they get rid of cash, then I have no choice but to keep my money in that digital wallet. You understand what I mean? Because of this floor, central banks have resorted to an unconventional monetary policy measure. The euro area, Switzerland, Denmark, Sweden, and other economies have allowed interest rates to go slightly below zero, which has been possible because taking cash out in large quantities is inconvenient and costly. For example, storage and insurance fees. These policies have helped boost demand, but they cannot fully make up for lost policy space when interest rates are so low, right? Breaking through. One option to break through the zero lower bound would be to phase out cash. Let me say that again. One option to break through the zero lower bound would be to phase out cash. But that is not straightforward. Cash continues to play a significant role in payments in many countries. Remember, the US is the world reserve currency, and to just pull those dollars, those physical dollars from the earth will have a dramatic impact on the US. So they don't really want to just take that money out yet. So they're doing it slowly, as it says here, phasing out. Right here, phase out cash. So they know exactly what they're doing. To get around this problem, in a recent IMF staff study and previous research, we examined a proposal for central banks to make cash as costly as bank deposits with negative rates, thereby making deeply negative interest rates feasible while preserving the role of cash, right? They don't want to get cash out of there. And cash is what's used mostly for money laundering. Cash is what's used for illegal activity like drugs. Cash is what's used by the U.S. government when they go into these foreign countries and they set up these new regiments. They are there and they hand them these bags of cash. And I'm not just saying that out of my mind. That was actually from a U.S. soldier who served in the military. And this is what he described. I can't remember the exact video, but I did see it. Now let's go down here a little further. Look at this. The proposal is for a central bank to divide the monetary base into two separate local currencies, cash and electronic money, which is, let's say, the Fed coin, the Euro coin, right? E-money would be issued only electronically and would pay the policy rate of interest, and cash would have an exchange rate, the conversion rate against e-money. This conversion rate is key to the proposal. When setting a negative interest rate on e-money, the central bank would let the conversion rate of cash in terms of e-money depreciate. So they're doing this on purpose, right? They're doing it on purpose. They know exactly what they're doing. At the same rate as the negative interest rate on e-money, the value of cash would thereby fall in terms of e-money. So for all you people out there that's holding on to this cash, right? They're letting you know right here by design, they need to get rid of that cash and they need to bring down that power, purchasing power of that cash down, because they don't want people to use it. They want you to go digitally because they have more control, right? To illustrate, suppose your bank announced a negative 3% interest rate on your bank deposit of $100 today. Suppose also that the central bank announced that cash dollars would now become a separate currency that would depreciate against e-dollars by 3% per year. Well, then obviously I would rather use the e-money than I would cash, because I'm going to lose, right? The conversion rate of cash dollars into e-dollars would hence change from 1 to 0.97 over the year. After a year, there would be 97 e-dollars left in your bank account. If you instead took out 100 cash dollars today, remember how I was telling you when people know what's going on, they're going to obviously pull their money out. Look what they're doing. 100 cash dollars today, and kept it safe at home for a year, exchanging it into e-money after that year would also yield $97. So they're coming up with a plan that if people decide to hoard cash, you're going to lose it anyway. You're going to lose money on it anyway. So you're being compelled, you're being forced to go into this new digital Fed coin, e-money, whatever it is that they're going to call it. At the same time, shops would start advertising prices in e-money and cash separately, just as shops in some small open economies already advertise prices both in domestic and in bordering foreign countries. Cash would thereby be losing value. Say that again. Cash would thereby be losing value, both in terms of goods and in terms of e-money. And there would be no benefit to holding cash relative to bank deposits, right? Because if you do the math, you're going to say, I can't hold, $100,000 anymore in my sneaker box, because just when I go to convert it to e-money, they're going to charge me that tax that I was trying to avoid in the first place anyway. So you're going to be forced to go with the e-money, right? This dual local currency system would allow the central bank to implement as negative an interest rate as necessary for countering a recession without triggering any large-scale substitutions into cash, right? So, I don't know where a lot of these people have been living under a rock, but the crypto community has been saying this for the longest, that we are eventually going to go into a digital world, right? And Bitcoin is the cause of all this. Now, what you need to understand, that e-money, that Fed coin, that Euro coin, that Chinese yuan is centralized. Bitcoin is decentralized, right? China doesn't control Bitcoin. Russia doesn't control Bitcoin. The United States government doesn't control Bitcoin, right? The U.S. can't tell Bitcoin, hey, listen, stop Venezuela from selling oil to other countries so that they can support the economy, right? You can't do that with Bitcoin. Bitcoin is centralized. It's all done by algorithm. It's all done by a computer. So you don't have to worry about anything, right? But they want that control to be able to do what? Turn it on and turn it off. And so if you, for example, if you've been watching the news and you see all this stuff being thrown out there about, oh, this guy's a socialist and, you know, this guy's a communist and we don't want that here in America, even though it's been in America. When you check history, it's been in America for the longest. But in the same way that in these political fears, they start labeling people and cutting people off the media, right? It's the same thing they're going to do with your money, right? So if they feel like, you know what, this person here is causing us problems, we're trying to get inside Venezuela and take control of the oil reserves that they have in there, privatize the land there, give it all to the wealthy people, push the poor people to the side as they've been doing in Latin America for the last 500 years, right? That's a problem for them, and they need some way to cut people out, right? And this is the point of it. And I'm going to show you a small clip here from this YouTube documentary, which is called Exposing China's Digital Dystopian Dictatorship. Now, of course, it's probably a Western side view, attacking China again, right? It's always China, Russia, never the US. But it doesn't matter. That's not what I'm here to debate. I just want to show you that for all the bad mouthing of China and Russia, the United States is going in the same direction. And when they get hold of your e-money, your digital wallet, and you, for whatever reason, do not concur with what the government's policy is, because I thought this was a democracy and I thought I had some say-so, but I don't, they're going to shut you out the system. Watch this short clip right here.
10 million people who've seen the dark side of the social credit system. Investigative journalist Leo Hu. With a street-smart, hands-on approach, Hu has exposed high-level corruption and solved murder cases abandoned by the police. In many countries, he'd be celebrated, not in China.
我觉得很多政府把我当成敌人吧。我们更倾向于它是一种宣传的机器，它可以向国民来灌输一些东西，而不是说需要大家去了解真相。要是有人去阻挠去披露它，那么我就认为它跟贪腐，这个贪腐它是一伙的。
In 2015, Hu lost a defamation case after he accused an official of extortion. He was made to publish an apology and pay a fine, but when the court demanded an additional fee, Hu refused. Then in 2017, he found himself suddenly locked out of society. Under a pilot social credit scheme, he'd been blacklisted as dishonest.
我有一些律师朋友，也有一些法官朋友，他们都告诉我们，失信是因为欠钱。我不欠钱，我是不能够纳入这个名单的。
Hu maintains he has fully met the terms of his 2015 case. He believes his blacklisting is political, but he has no way of challenging it.
那个，我有两方面看法。第一个是很多错误的被纳入这个信用系统的人，他没法摆脱。
His poor social credit rating has shut down his travel options and confined him to effective house arrest in Chongqing.
我现在是已经被限制这个自由的出行了，就是订票啊，我们高铁和飞机都不行。我跟你演示一下，我们用这个 APP 来订票。 现在是我们从重庆到西安，我们来订一张票，订一张过几天的票。
And what does it say?
然后就显示那个出票失败，说我已经被法院依法限制高消费，限制乘坐 G 字头列车。
Hu's social media accounts have also been closed. Before his arrest, he had nearly 2 million followers. It's where he published much of his journalism.
我曾经有过好几个微博，10几个，这些微博号现在都没有了。最新的一个，这个是被封的一个号，现在是这个号是没有了。
Hu's great spy, writing for an online publication. His investigative reports are on hold. It's not his first run-in with censorship.
So, you seen how he tried to book a train ticket just to go to the next province in China, and because there's no cash, right? Let's say we live in this cashless society, and in China, because in China they're more advanced than us, it's just what it is, right? But he tried to book a train ticket, and being that you have to pay everything with that digital wallet, he was restricted. He was not allowed to. So he's basically in house arrest. And this is the problem with centralized money, is that if you're in the US and you're a politician who's like pro-America, just like Trump, right? And somebody on the other side, a Bernie Sanders, who claims to be a socialist, right? You're going to be cut out, right? Let's take the incident of Edward Snowden, the whistleblower. All right, what you think? If we had a complete digital wallet, what you think would have happened to Edward Snowden once he told on what the U.S. government was doing in terms of spying on everybody's cell phone, right? And then he ran, and he's on the run now. He's hiding in Russia. But simply put, all they would do to Edward Snowden's account, same way they did to this man here, is hit the off button. That's it. You can't go nowhere. You can't buy a train ticket. You can't get an Uber. You can't get a Lyft, right? You can't order food. You won't be able to get a plane ticket that's going to get you out the country because you've been cut out the system. And that's the problem that I have, because if you study history, all governments always abuse their power. Always. People think the United States is a great country. Yeah, go into the history, see how did they become great. It was by the pillaging of other countries, taking their gold, taking their silver, taking their minerals, taking their metals, taking their land, which is the most thing everybody seems to always be after, right? And that's why I have a problem with it, because a person like me, who supposedly has a right to criticize my government for all the wrongdoing that they had, just like Edward Snowden did, right, would be completely locked out immediately. You ever seen the RT television casters? All of them are Americans. Americans, and they all have been targeted as being propagandists for Russia. And, oh my God, it's just crazy that I don't even want to get into it, right? Now, when you go here, so I already did that one. So the digital currency is coming. Digital currency is coming. Crypto community has been saying this for the longest. The bill was introduced during the pandemic, right? Nobody's paying attention to any of this. Everybody's worrying about a Supreme Court justice, which I think is a whole bunch of crap too. I'll give you my 2 cents on it. I don't think Supreme Court justices rule on the Constitution. I think Supreme Court justices rule on whatever political party they're affiliated with, or whatever religious belief they're affiliated with. And the reason I say that is because if you've been watching the hearing on this new candidate that they're trying to do, the argument that the Democrats now are making, because if it was the other way around, the Republicans would be making the same argument. But the argument that they're making is that they don't want this lady to be nominated or allowed to go into the United States Supreme Court because she holds the same views as Trump does. And so they're afraid that if she gets into that seat, they're going to overturn Obamacare, right? So right there, they're showing you that Supreme Court justices do not make decisions based on the Constitution, which the Constitution was only made for white people if you really study the Constitution in its historical context. But they make decisions based on their political affiliate. So if you have up there 5 little Trumps, right? Whenever a decision goes up there, right, that they have to decide on, those 5 little Trumps are gonna base their decision on their political view that they share, right? So if it's a Republican view, then they're gonna all rule in favor of that decision. If you have 5 democratically elected Supreme Court justices, then they're gonna most likely rule in the Democratic point of view, right? Kind of like the thing that's also going on with Roe versus Wade, right? Because nowhere in the Constitution does it say anything about abortion, but somehow, the right to life has now been interpreted to also mean for the babies, which is absolutely nonsense to me. But that just goes to show you that you have these Supreme Court justices, they make a ruling, right? Then all it takes is for you to change the dominoes a little bit, right? And then now they would overturn that decision and claim that it's because it's against the Constitution. No, they make decisions based on whatever political figure appoints them up there. But that's like a whole nother story. So anyway, back to Bitcoin. Just thought I'd share that digitization of the world because it's coming. It's coming. And for me, I like the concept of the crypto community, which is decentralized finance, right? Allow me to hold my own money, and just because I disagree with my government, I don't like war, so I'm going to criticize every time you decide to drop bombs and invade other people's countries with military might, right? I don't like war. What's the point in war, right? But so if I criticize that and I'm against it, right away they're going to label me a socialist, right? I'm anti-American. Well, guess what, man? This guy just needs to be cut off from the system. Right? That's what's going to end up happening. So when you have all these political figures who are against, like for example, what was the lady that was running for president? I forgot her name, but the lady that was running for president, she was very anti-war, and she was just like completely cut off from the democratic system. Same thing with Bernie Sanders. Bernie Sanders calls himself a socialist democrat, democratic socialist, right? And if you remember in 2016, they actually cheated so that Bernie wouldn't make his way up to the election process, right? And the same thing happened again this year, right? Bernie had supporters, right? But there was no way they was going to let him there because why? America, just like back in the days when there was this big fight over religion and Protestants and Catholics and Muslims, right? And you have this all religious fight. They still have this fight today over capitalism and socialism, and so they've been trying to kill each other for the longest, right? And that's what's really going on. And so I do not like that because I think it's stupid, childish. It's time to move on, move forward. And the United States has always been a racist country. I don't know what's wrong with people today. They get amnesia. That's why I call it the United States of amnesia. They seem to forget about history like this. People already forgot about the coronavirus, right? But when you study history, the stuff that governments do, just not the U.S., just governments in general, tend to be no good. So if we can get the centralization out of money, I think things will be better, right? Because now you won't have people really controlling things as they used to control it, even though they still got the guns and the military might, so they'll still force people, right? They'll send you to jail, things like that. But Bitcoin, let's go to this before I continue to rumble on. My last video, what did I say? As long as we stay above 9,100, we're fine. And we actually came down on this correction. The lowest we came down was somewhere around 9,800, I think it was, but we never went back down to 9,100. And the longer I told you we stood in this area here, the less likely is that we were going to drop back down. And then boom, we had a breakout to the upside, which is a good thing. And all the news is going in of institutional investors putting their money in. So in the beginning, Bitcoin was a scam. Stay away from it. Do not buy it, right? Now that they scared everybody away and nobody's paying attention to it, all this institutional money is starting to flow in it, starting to buy up all the Bitcoin, right? And there's only 21 million, and a lot of those is already gone. So by the time the little people in the neighborhood, which was what Bitcoin was intended to do, was to help the little people in the neighborhood, by the time those people stop watching Netflix and Jerry Springer, yeah, Jerry Springer, I swear to God, I'm not going to name names, but I know somebody in this building, every time I pass by their apartment, they're always watching Jerry Springer, and I'm like, really? Jerry Springer? Like, I was watching that in 1998. 1998, how are you still watching Jerry Springer? But that's what Americans love. Love watching this crap, right? So while people are living in their fantasy lands and Netflix and Hulu, you got all this smart money starting to buy all the crypto, all the Bitcoin, right? And ain't gonna be nothing left for you. By the time you decide to put a little bit of money in Bitcoin, it's going to be so expensive that putting $1,000 is only going to give you a very small amount of Bitcoin because it continues to go up. It's not like a money printer where you can just print. There's a cap on it, 21 million. And so that's what makes the difference. Right now, we're waiting for a small correction. Because you see how it went up like that? We got 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 days of green candlesticks. So you're always going to see green candlesticks, red ones, green candlesticks, red ones. Right now we're having a red one. It's going to be a small correction, and then you should see another upside. If we do not see an upside yet, right, that means we're not ready yet. We're still consolidating in this area. And you see this line here, 200-day simple moving average continues to go up, and that's what we need. This is an uptrend to me. So I see us passing here, 12,400, 500. We're going to end up in the 15,000 somewhere on the next leg up. 15,000, maybe higher, and then come back down again a little bit until we find some type of support, right? And then from there is the same pattern. Happens in the stocks, happens in crypto, comes up, comes down, right? Has to consolidate. It happens all the time. So right now, I would be paying attention. Above 12,500, I think we'll hit 15,000 easy before we come down for a small correction. And then after that, it's going to continue to go up again. And then we'll see 25. Who knows? Who knows? Now look at this one here. Let's see if I can find it. So this was today. So we know MicroStrategy, Square, they're saying PayPal is about to get into it. But here goes another company, 10 million in Bitcoin. Under the nose of many in the cryptocurrency space, Stone Ridge Asset Management has accumulated 115 million worth of Bitcoin. The $10 billion asset manager confirmed this news to Forbes on October 13, which is today, but did not disclose when exactly the funds were deployed to purchase these coins. Through partially owned subsidiary New York Digital Investment Group, Stone Ridge Holding Group has accumulated 10,000 Bitcoin. I can't even get one Bitcoin. And I'm the little guy here, you know. And the longer you wait, the harder it is going to be for you to get one. Accumulated 10,000 Bitcoin valued at approximately 115 million at today's prices. So the institutional money continues to flow in. Now, in your job, these pension plans, the 401k plans, they're going to start to put the money that they take out of your paycheck into these crypto assets. Only difference is that the brokers are the ones who are going to maintain your Bitcoin. They're the ones who are going to make the most profit. Remember that, because they're doing the work for you, so they got to get something out of it. Whereas if you just purchase the Bitcoin yourself, then you'll have full control of it. You'll make all the profit, all the money goes to you. If you decide to put that into DeFi and earn some interest on it, it's all gonna come to you. And it's easy to do. Like Max Kaiser said, anybody with a smartphone has access to it. So it shouldn't be no excuses why everybody doesn't own a little bit of Bitcoin. All right? So that's my recap here on the Bitcoin market. As I said, we're doing good. I would see somewhere around 15,000 is the next top that we're going to see before another small correction, right? Somewhere around it. It doesn't have to be 15,000 exactly, but somewhere around that. Everything looks good. Again, get into Bitcoin. If you don't know where to start, you can always go to my website, www.crypto38.com. All I do is give referrals. I do not sell Bitcoin myself. You make the decision, do the research. I'm not a financial advisor. I just educated myself, and I'm trying to educate you guys also, because I feel like this is going to help us poor people, right? Because the powers that be are already too strong, too wealthy. They really don't seem to care about us, and there seems to be a lot of racist implications in the government as it is today, right? And you can tell just by all the stuff that's been going on in the news. So remember, get with the decentralized nature of this thing. Otherwise, you're gonna be locked out.